So the first thing is that you need to be very clear in your head that this is my number one priority and this is what I'm going to do. Yeah, that's going to be clear in your mind. Now, the thing is that you need to understand what is the pattern that leads you down doing something else. Because what you're saying is generally I start with the right thing. And that's good because that's where a lot of people have issues, like just even starting with the right thing. So even if you go back to bed after Fajr and you wake up a few hours later, I understand that the morning is gone. Like even like last week when we finished our call, it was like practically Fajr time here. So I prayed Fajr and then I didn't wake up till very late. And then that way you feel like so much of the day is gone, right? So I understand that point. But the point is that when I then wake up, I know my priority number one is this. My priority number two is this. My priority number three is this, right? And so one of the things that I do is with Fajr and the morning routine, I will attach things to it that I will do. So for example, before checking my phone, I will read Quran. Does that make sense? So before you check your phone, if you read Quran, for me, that day becomes a bit of a win already. Like if I've read Quran, if I've held myself accountable for the day before, if I've, done my journaling in terms of like being grateful to Allah and planning out what I'm doing for the day, like that 15, 20 minutes of doing all that stuff, for me, that's a win in the day before the day's even started. Like that's how I see it. Right. And that's the kind of routine that I want you guys to build, where you do little micro mini actions every day or in the morning that make you feel like I've already achieved a lot. And this is why I say to people about making beds. Like if you actually get up and make your bed and then read Fajr and do your adhkar and do this and do this and do this, in that half an hour where you do that stuff, suddenly you've just achieved so much. Does that make sense? So if you prioritize all those things that, even if I would like, day before yesterday, I went straight back to bed after Fajr. Like it was like, I prayed Fajr, I went to sleep. And then when I woke up in the morning, it was like 9, 10 o'clock. But then even then I was like, okay, so I need to fill out my journal. I need to like do this. So I tried to do all of those things. So even though I woke up late, now the day still seems like a success because I got to do these things, right? And then past those things, it's like, look, put everything else to the side. Put my emails to the side, put this to the side, put that to the side. The first thing I need to do is focus on doing X, Y, and Z, right? And then go to that thing. So what I'm saying is that if you can just sort out that one thing of waking up for Fajr with energy, that will have a byproduct for everything else. And this is what we call a keystone habit. We're sorting that one habit out, we'll sort everything else out. Right. But alongside that, what I'm saying is that you should basically look, this whole YouTube binging and this whole kind of getting distracted, this is normal. Everyone goes through it. Right. But what I would do is I would actually look at the patterns that I'm kind of going through. Like, what are the things that trigger me? Right. So, for example, if I know that, if I go on YouTube right now, that will lead to me like being on YouTube for an hour. OK, what is the thing for me to do? The thing for me to do is next time tell my brain this is the path we're going to take. Because what does the brain do? The brain takes the path of least resistance. Okay, so like we all have a pattern. Like when you've got your phone, you got a pattern. Okay, first I'm going to check my email, then I'm going to check my Facebook, then I check this, then I check, like you just have a pattern to just give that dopamine hit, right? And what I'm saying is that right now your pattern is, I've been studying hard for the last 45 minutes, I need to get a break. What do? I go to my phone, right? I go to YouTube. And what I'm saying is that if you know that YouTube and that this and this and this is going to have this issue, you need to now plan a different route for your brain, okay? So what is something you can do when you feel like, oh, I've studied a lot, I feel like I need a break? What is something you can do instead of YouTube? What you could do, for example, right, is like one of the things I do, you see that window behind me, right? Like on the window, alhamdulillah, I've got a nice ledge there and it faces the city and I've got a really amazing view. Sometimes when I'm working, after I'm kind of tired and this and that, I'll just stand up, I'll just stand at the window, just get some fresh air, just kind of freshen myself up, and then I'll get back into it, right? Sometimes you can actually leave the house. Sometimes I'll go downstairs and see what the kids are doing, just kind of get that mental break and that like difference in my mind to just being in front of the screen and doing the same old stuff, right? So what I'm saying is it doesn't really matter what you choose, but you need to choose something that is not what is leading you down the path of then wasting 2-3 hours going off priority and messing up your mornings. That's the point I'm making. Wherever it happens, however it happens, the point I'm making that you need to learn is there's a pattern and a trigger of what's happening. And you need to replace that with something else, with an alternative behavior. You need to be very, very clear of the alternative behavior. That's the first thing, right?
Yes.
The second thing I would say is that so you tell me now, like, what are you going to do instead? Like you're saying, when this happens is when I go to lunch, this happens, this is what I do, and then this leads to this. What are you now going to do? Like, tell me what your brain should do in that situation now. So, for example, you know, if you said to me, okay, Mohammed, every time you feel tired or you feel distracted, go for a walk, I wouldn't do it. If you said to me that I have to now go out the house and this and that, for me, that's long. But if you said just go to the window, that's like an atomic habit. It's a tiny, tiny thing you're asking me to do. It's very easy for me to do it. And that's what I'm saying. Like, my goal in the mornings, really, like when it comes to work, actual work, my goal is actually just to sit in this place that I'm sitting on. Why? Because I know if I get to this desk and I sit here, I'll get into my mode and I'll start being productive and this. But if I don't sit here, like I sit on the bed and I watch some YouTube, or I go downstairs to the kids, or I do, like, if I don't sit in this place right here, like, my productivity is going to be flawed, right? And so my habit is actually very simple. Just sit on my chair next to my desk. Do you understand, right? And so what I'm saying is, when you're doing lunch, choose a habit that is very tiny like that. So rather than saying, oh, if there's no mosquitoes, I'm going to go for a walk, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, maybe you just say, my habit is after lunch, I'm just going to step outside the house for 1 minute. Okay. Now, once you're outside the house, what you do is up to you, okay? And this is the kind of technique I would use for myself. Like, you know what, in Ramadan, when you've eaten food and you've been fasting all day and you can't be bothered to go to the masjid, right? Like, you just cannot be bothered, you're tired, you're this, right? What I would do to myself is say, listen, bro, forget Tarawih, forget it. Don't go. You don't need to go. Relax, yeah? Just go to the masjid, pray Isha, get half the reward for the night, and just come home, okay? And that would kind of make me feel like, yeah, I can't be bothered to stay there for 20 rak'ah or 8 rak'ah, whatever you pray, right? I can't be bothered. I don't want to do it. I'm tired. I'm this. I'm that. Okay, cool. Let me go for Isha. I would go for Isha, and guess what would happen? I would always stay for Tarawih because, yeah, because well, I wouldn't go to Fajr. Well, not that good, right? But basically, as soon as I would pray Isha, I'll be like, you know what? I don't need to be here. I can go home right now if I want. Why don't I just pray two, right? So I would always end up praying something extra. And so rather than me just not going to masjid at all, through going through that process of just make it a really small thing, it actually made me achieve a lot more than I would have if I didn't think of that small thing. So in the same way, what I'm saying is that find something that interrupts the pattern that you're going through, right? And do something different. And then I would say reward yourself, okay? So later on that day, you should go on YouTube. You should, if you're watching beneficial stuff, like you're saying, the debates and this and that, like, go on YouTube and watch that stuff. Yes. But just know that there's a time for it, isn't it? Like, you should, that's all you have to tell yourself, that look, you can have this thing, right? You just have to wait a little while longer. And you know, this whole thing of waiting a little while longer, this is actually a big, big thing that if we as Muslims could get comfortable with this, we would be content in life. Why? Because you believe in the akhirah. You believe Allah is going to give you amazing things in akhirah. So if you want a woman, you want a car, you want money, you want this, you want family, you want whatever you want, like, Allah is saying, just hold on. Just wait a little while, like wait 20 years, 30 years. And these 20, 30 years are going to seem like a day. So just wait a little while and you can have all of this. But if we're not willing to wait, then we're going to put ourselves in problem, right? So in that same way, you need to say, okay, look, I want to watch this debate. I'm going to, look, this new YouTube video's come out. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. But look, I have to do this. This is my thing. I'm just going to go outside for 1 minute. And after that, I'm going to come home and I'm going to get back into it, type of thing, you know? So just look at what your triggers are, look at what your patterns are, and then start working on those things individually, right? The other thing I would say about this is, one big thing, I think, is when you're dealing with these kind of situations, it's very important that you get present in the moment, okay? You get present in the moment. What do I mean by that? A lot of our behavior, like I said, is happening on autopilot, right? You don't even realize it. You're just kind of going through the motions. You're going through it. And what needs to happen is you need to stop. And you need to just stop and say, where am I? Where do I want to go? Where am I heading? What's my obstacle? How do I get to where I want to go, right? Like, and actually really, really be present in this moment that you're living in right now, right? So like, let's imagine right now, like I've had my lunch, right? And now I'm like, oh man, you know, like, I don't know, Mohammed Hijab just released this video and it just looks so exciting. And, you know, these guys are fighting and this is happening and all of this, right? So now it's about me getting very present with myself in the moment. Is that what's going on here? Well, what's going on is that I really feel like watching this video. Okay, why do I feel like watching this video? Because it's exciting, because it's like, you know, entertaining, it's going to make me laugh, it's going to educate me. Basically, I'm addicted to this. It's going to give me a really good experience. Okay, great. But how are you going to feel if you basically do this when you should be doing that? You know? And this is what I'm saying. Once you start getting present with yourself, you give yourself a chance. It might not change anything, but it gives you a chance to actually look at things and try and do something different, right? And I'm saying this thing is a muscle that we need to build, because this muscle will help you in every area of your life. And if you don't have this thing, you're going to be in big trouble. And that's why I'm saying a lot of the times when I'm doing stuff, I use other techniques like, bro, you're going to go on the coaching call and tell people to do this. How can you not do this yourself, right? So I'm saying that there's these other techniques that I'm trying to use on myself to force myself to behave a certain way, because the way our nafs is, there's some things that it just doesn't like doing, but it needs to do them, right? And so you need to push yourself, and you need to prioritize, like I was saying last week, you need to prioritize the spiritual self over the body and the mind and everything else, right? Because your mind, your brain might be saying, look, watch that, watch that, watch that, watch that. But, you know, maybe your spirit is saying something else. Maybe your soul is saying, no, I actually need to be a person of integrity. I need to do this. I need to do that. So I think like getting present in the moment and just talking to yourself and understanding, look, why am I feeling like this? What's going on here? And just noticing exactly how you're doing and connecting with yourself in the moment.